Welcome to episode 47 of Enter the Mind podcast, the most real talk, no nonsense podcast on the empowering of the mind. This week, we're going to be talking about physical health and mental health. Before we get to that, Kyra, how's it going?
Going really well on my end, feeling happy. Woo! What about you?
I'm feeling very good as well. I would say happy, and I think it's because I've been watching the flow of my energy, and every time that I watch my energy throughout the day and where it's flowing, I always win the day. That day is always a victory. So that's how I'm doing.
Amazing.
Yeah. So one of our viewers, I was talking with them about topics, and she suggested something about physical health and mental health. And I thought that made a lot of sense because I hear the word mental health all the time. You know, I work in the field of mental health. I think that mental health is becoming like more of a buzzword. You hear about mental health awareness. You hear about people, you know, especially during COVID, people bringing up their mental health. But I feel like those terms need to be discussed because it's very broad. But just to start us off, like what do you think of when you hear the terms physical health and mental health?
I guess that when I hear physical health, I think of like going on walks, exercising. That's like the very first thing that came to mind. It's like physical is, working out, and mental is, mental, the things that you do like on the inside. But if I, gave it like a bit of thought, physical health would be exercising and eating right, and mental health would be just checking in with yourself and being able to have like there's so many aspects to the human mind. I feel like I can't put it in just a few words, but I guess it would be just being okay with questioning yourself and being okay with talking to yourself and understanding that it is actually extremely healthy to be having a genuine conversation with yourself. Some of the smartest people in the world talk to themselves. It's good to talk to yourself, and I think that the space to do that freely with zero judgment in your mind is a big part of mental health, because I feel like that's what branches off into affirmations and maybe yoga, which would be physical and mental health combined. Yeah.
I think one of the reasons that my week is going so well, apart from like watching my energy, is that I have been talking to myself a lot this week. And not necessarily out loud, but in things like, it's almost like crowding out my mind, like, because the mind will be like, let's say I'm going through my day, right? And let's say, what's an example? Let's say I'm driving to work and there's like a lot of traffic on the way, like unexpectedly, right? The mind will chime in and say, oh, you're going to be late, oh, this is bad, like this is such a pain, why don't you live closer to your work? All these crap, BS, comments from the peanut gallery, so to speak. And so what, you don't understand that reference? That might be old school reference. Never mind. But I crowd out that mind, I push it aside, and I talk to myself from the voice that I do want to hear from. And that voice sounds like, all right, this is perfect opportunity to think through what I want to accomplish today. While I'm sitting in traffic, this is perfect opportunity. I'm going to do some breathing meditation. This is, or all sorts of positive spins on it, right? And so the more that I talk to myself in that, right, in that way, the more that I can push out the mind. And so is that what you mean when you say like talk to yourself?
yeah, I definitely think that's it. And I feel like having like a genuine conversation with yourself, like say, you were in traffic and the conversation went like a little something like this, like, oh, you're going to be late. Why do you live so far from your work? And then, the other voice of you chimes in. And this is kind of the voice. I feel like there are kind of like three voices in your head. And there's like the negative one that's very blatant, very blatant. You can 100% hear it, feel it. It's there. It's like, why? Oh my God, I'm going to be late. What the fuck? And all these words are going through your mind. Then there's that kind of really tiny silent voice that goes on inside of you. And it's that little snap that says, wait, let's turn this around. And then automatically it's like that other person has the microphone, the good part of you, or the part of you that I guess is more beneficial, because all parts of you are good, even the bad, even anyways, whole nother can of worms. But and then that other voice kind of talks, and it's like, wait a minute, like, I think that this is actually a really good time to, just sit and do a little meditation. And, that other part of you genuinely quiets down. And then you genuinely have time to talk amongst the voices in your head that actually benefit you.
Yeah, I hear you. And I have this new concept also from the reality transurfing book that I actually finished recently. And that thing was a fat book. That was 700 pages, I think.
Wow, that's a feat,
But I
Robert.
just chipped away at it little by little. But the concept, anyways, was a pendulum. And a pendulum would be something that like takes your energy. So for instance, you pull up, you're on your way to work and you get into a traffic jam. There's a traffic pendulum that is just waiting to take your energy. And if it takes your energy, that means it's getting a reaction out of you, right? And then you get all upset. You're like, oh, this traffic, I can't stand this traffic. But what's invisible, what's happening in that situation that's at the invisible level is right then and there, energy is being stolen from you. It's like almost like a pickpocket. I call it like energy pickpockets, right? It's like you don't even know they're taking your money, but it's like, energy is being taken from you, because it takes energy to say, I can't stand this traffic, I hate traffic jams and blah, 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 right? That's psychic energy. It's low vibrational energy. It's like, but it's basically your whole energy system's being hijacked. It's being, it's like a parasite that like leeches onto you and like, just sucks energy out of you. And so I've been just like a watchdog. I've been monitoring my energy force field more than ever this week, right? And so I'm not allowing any of these pendulums to, as the book calls it, hook onto you, right? Because once they hook onto you, it's like strings on a puppet where they start, controlling all of your motion, and you just give up complete control to these pendulums. And you see this happen at work when people get all up into this, oh, the accounting department wants me to do this and that, and that's not my job, and that's their job, and you hear these people get so riled up, and their energy is just so out of order or whatever. It's because they've allowed pendulums to latch onto them and move them around just like puppets. And so I think that watching who's speaking in your mind is a way to kind of control whether or not the pendulums latch onto you. Because if you listen to the weak voices in your mind, then you're going to let the pendulums latch onto you. But if you continually redirect your mind back to the strong voice inside of you, the strong version of yourself, right? That the inner strength that you have, if you can continually redirect towards that, then those pendulums will not latch onto you.
I feel like a great way to stop those pendulums, I think that, yeah, directing it back to just like as you kind of feel like the pendulum tugging on you, which would then turn into something physical, because mental and physical completely coincide with each other. And if you just stop for a second and have a little conversation with yourself in your head and listen to both of those voices. And, you know, sometimes my negative voice, I try and talk to my negative voice and I'm like, hey, like, what's the matter? And my negative voice is like, like, fuck you. Like, no, there is no talking right now. And I'm like, all right, you have your little tantrum. You get it over with. And then, you know, once that one has become weak enough and I've gotten, you know, that need to just kind of feel that emotion, you know, then I can have a calm talk with myself and I can be like, do you understand what you just did? And, you know, I could say, yes, I do understand what I just did. And I feel completely fine about it. I was expressing my emotions. That doesn't make me any less of a person. And I feel fine about this. And then I check in with myself again, you know, and I talk to myself again and I say, are you sure that you're okay with this? I say, yes, I'm positive. I'm okay with this. And, you know, I go on with my day. As opposed to if you let that sort of take the spotlight and you feel bad about it, then afterwards, you know, you come back and you're like, hey, like, I don't really feel too good. And, you know, you're like, why? And I'm like, because I completely lost control of myself. And, you know, the other voice is like, oh, well, I guess I didn't pay enough attention. You know, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. You know, so there's a whole bunch of different ways that the conversations can go in your head. But I think that the most important thing to note is that when you do have a moment where this negative voice really needs to take control, do it with self-control. Let your positive voice, let that beneficial voice be aware that this negative voice is going to take the spotlight for a minute in order to feel and process those emotions. And you can feel okay about it. You can say, all right, I feel fine about that. I know exactly what I was doing because it was self-controlled and it was intentional, as opposed to it being willy-nilly and unself-controlled and you're just kind of all over the place, right? Now, I wanted to touch on the physical and mental and how they coincide. And I feel like when, say, you go on a walk, right? All of a sudden your energy's moving, your blood's moving, your energy's getting up, your blood's starting to get hotter, and these kind of nice thoughts come in and you go, oh, I think it'd be nice to go for a walk in along the coast of the Amalfi Coast in Italy. And then you think, you know, I wonder what I can do to get the money for that. Or I'd really like to go and do that, you know, and all of a sudden your mind starts to think nice because you have physically gotten yourself up to go on a walk and you're feeling good. So good thoughts come in. Now, when those good thoughts come in and you're moving your body along with them, as you're moving your body, different gateway energy holes are open in your body for those thoughts to really sink in and really, you know, sink into your veins and your atoms, so that way you can move a little bit more each day closer to alignment with beneficial thoughts of your goal. And when you do that, it also recycles back into your actions. So maybe when you get home, you'll think, maybe I'll look up some ways. How can I earn money online, right? And then, you know, maybe I'll take a break and watch some TV. But that little bit of momentum, if you let it take control sometimes, then you will see how it kind of recycles back into physical and mental, physical and mental, physical and mental. And it all always just kind of recycles. And every day, that little recyclable sort of momentum that's going on inside of you will get stronger and stronger and stronger until it overrides all your fucking cells and you become who you want to be.
I like the way you ended that there.
Thank you.
The division between mind and body, I think in some ways is a false one. You know,
Okay.
it was way back in the 1700s when the philosopher Rene Descartes, famously, you know, the guy who said, "I think, therefore I am," he also was famous for kind of saying that humans have a mind and a body, and like it's the separate, you know, there's two parts of us, right? Mind and body. And then more recently, there's a professor, I think, of neurology who wrote a book, his name's Antonio Damasio, who wrote a book called Descartes' Error, because this neurologist who studies the nervous system for a living realizes that it's so integrated. The mind and the body are like the same, right? You move your body, you feel differently. You, right? Like you said, you open up these channels, or as Damasio might say, like, you know, your neurotransmitters, the serotonin and the dopamine, that's very physical, right? That's part of your body, right? But we all know that serotonin and dopamine are like, they're literally going to be like the emotions that you feel. If you have more serotonin and more dopamine, you're feeling great, you're feeling happy, right? And if you don't have as much, you're feeling crappy. So I guess I'm rhyming today. And so you're right, it's so integrated, you know, physical and mental. And it's like, you know, in my years of working in mental health, I can't tell you how many times I've worked with a depressed person that was not exercising. You know, like, if you don't have daily exercise, you know what I mean? Like, that is so powerful. Like, the chemicals that are released in daily exercise, whether it's dancing or weightlifting or, you know, playing a sport, like the physical change that happens when you do that is just so, you know, it's so profound. And so to separate, like, oh, my mental health and my physical health, it doesn't even make sense to separate those in some ways, you know.
I want to touch on two things, and I really like how you you said that I was right, that they're not entirely separate, which is funny because honestly, that's not what I was saying. But it's funny that that's what you got from what I said. You were like, oh, she's right, you know. But like, that's what you embody, you know. That's the message that you got from it, and I like that you brought that up, because personally, I've heard that before, but it hasn't been like, you know, it's not something that's been in my mind very often. So this refresher, or I guess new knowledge, is really nice for me to mull over, to think about, you know, the body and the mind, really, such a good explanation, being pretty much the same thing. So that'll be something to mull over. And so when you're playing tennis, or you're engaging in dance, or you're engaging in a nice football game, that fucking rowdy shit, throwing the ball, love that shit. So when you're engaging in those sports, your mind is now completely occupied because your body is completely occupied. So when you're throwing a ball and you automatically think about the pie you left in the oven at home, your arm is probably going to be like, oh my God. And it's going to fall short, because as soon as this happens, this happens. So, you know, if you're engaged in a football game, or you're engaged in dance, you're not thinking about other things. You're just thinking about moving your body, or you're thinking about being engaged in the game, and you're thinking about being engaged in this thing. And when you do that, your mind is so occupied that it almost allows time to finally move forward, because you have absolutely no say in it anymore. You're not here anymore. You are now, I guess it would be, you're now here. You are now immersed fully in life as you are engaging in this body movement, and you're engaging in this action, that you now have no say in being able to stop time. You can't self-sabotage yourself in this moment. You can't entirely create in this moment, because everything that is a desire within you can now be released into the universe, and the universe feels that. So now time can move forward, because you have no say, because all of your energy and focus and everything is focused on this game. It's focused on this task, this thing with so many, that needs every part of you. And so time can move forward.
I think it definitely pulls us into the present moment, you know, these activities. And it's funny, I have on one of my many sticky notes here, things I want to talk about in my videos. Oh, here it is. I said, it's right here. I'm not even lying.
I love it.
It's right here. It says, getting drunk and hiking are mindfulness. they shut off the mind and they pull you into the present moment. And that's just similar to what you were saying. Like, you know, the mind, to use your example, right? You're playing sports, you're throwing a ball. What that does is you concentrate on throwing the ball because you have this target, whether it's a basketball hoop or it's a soccer goal or whatever, like you have this target and you're trying to do that, and it pulls you into the present moment, right? And what that means to be pulled into the present moment is that your mind is not off in non-reality, thinking about like, oh, what am I going to do tomorrow? What career do I want? What if I pick the wrong career? That's non-reality. And so what it does is it pulls you closer to reality. And this kind of fits with, I know it sounds grandiose, but I'm building this whole new religion from the ground up, right? Of like, reality is my God. And why is reality my God? Because there's nothing more powerful than it, you know? You can't, like, people can say like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna be a NBA basketball star. Okay, well, are you going to, or are you not? You know, because either you're going to have the skills and you're going to make it there and you're going to get paid, you know, millions of dollars salary to be a professional basketball player, or you're not, you know. But you can't just sit around and let your mind go off in non-reality thinking, oh yeah, I deserve to be a basketball star, they just haven't scouted me yet, you know, or, you know, I have the skills, I'm just, you know, I'm just not, I just choose not to be in the NBA because, you know, I don't want to travel all of that much, you know, I'm just going to have like a regular job. It's like, no, dude, like you're BSing, like this is all BS, right? And you know, people like this, right? Like, but anyways, that's sort of like a tangent. Okay. So anyways, so the ultimate, you know, the ultimate performer is reality. You know, every time I start to suffer, it's because I allow myself to go into the world of non-reality, where I start thinking, you know, oh man, this project, you know, I should have done this, I should have done that. That's a non-reality. You know, if you have regrets, that's a non-reality. If you have anxieties, oh, I'm afraid this is going to happen, I'm afraid that's going to happen. Is it happening? No. So it's a non-reality, right? So our mind constantly wants to run off into non-reality. And the reason that I think every single weekend I see people, my friends on Instagram, posting these little hikes that they go on in the mountains here is because they want to get into a new novel environment where they're moving their body physically, right? They're opening up these channels, they're pulling their mind into the present. They're like, oh, look at these trees, look at this, look at that. And they're becoming one with reality. They're merging, they're getting closer to reality. They're not off in their mind doing these other things. And so I think it kind of gives some context to what this whole movement called mindfulness, of just like being aware of what's going on in the present, is that, you know, am I understanding you right, of what you were saying?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I feel like the reason why anybody does anything is because, you know, they want to feel good. And when you're, you know, when you're hiking, when you're dancing, or when you're doing something, yeah, it definitely takes your mind off things. I'm trying to think of times when I engage myself in activities. It's like, I don't know, like when I'm kind of bored, or I feel like I'm not getting out enough. I never pay for parking at the beach down here. I live like 7 minutes away from the beach, and I never pay for parking. And sometimes I'll just park my car and pray I don't get a ticket. And other times I'll park and then I have to walk over the bridge, cross the street, down the block to the motherfucking beach. It's really not that far. It's like a 10-minute walk, but I hate it. But sometimes when I just feel like I should really just get up and get out, I'll force myself to get up, park, and fucking walk to the beach. I'll throw on my sneakers. I'll do it, you know? And because I do that, it gets my mind thinking a little better. I'm a little bit clearer. I feel like I'm doing something and not just sitting around, when I know that serotonin will make me happier, when I know that going on a walk will make me feel good, when I know that laying on the beach, even for an hour, will pass some time throughout my day, and maybe I'll come up with an insight while I'm there. And the same thing happens with like personal development. Like if I really know that I have to do some shadow work and I really don't feel like it, I really don't want to sit there in my house and let all my demons come out to play and feel like fucking shit because of all the things that I keep inside, you know, but as soon as I do it, and as soon as I, you know, kind of get things into perspective and I take that action and my body is moving with it, my mind all of a sudden feels so much better. It's like an entire release. And it's like, see, Kyra, I told you, your demons aren't that scary. They're just, you know, you make them seem so scary because you avoid them. But if you take that action and you take them on a walk, play with them a little bit, you'll see they're really not that scary, and that, you know, you can easily move past them. And by the way, I wanted to say something, this is completely off topic, but one of my favorite songs by Hozier or Hoser, I don't know, is Arsenic's Lullaby, I think. I'm not sure if that's the song, but in it he says, never tame your demons, always keep them on a leash. And I love that so fucking much, because I'll never forget, you know, the people that I came in contact with that seemed to just ignore their demons, and it's like they became a walking demon. Like they just tried to ignore all the bad and ignore all the demons. And when you do that, you know, and you completely tame your demons, you become lifeless. You become extremely less human. So to keep those demons on a leash and to let your demons come out to play, they start to benefit you. Just as when most people think that, you know, alcohol lowers the senses, or I don't know, does all that stuff. You know, I personally, sometimes, you know, when I really need a drink and I have that drink, I feel amazing. And why? Because when I have that drink, I'm engaging in something. And just like everything else, when I engage in something, it just happens. It feels good.
What a solid and strong lyric that was.
I know, right?
Was it never tame your demons, keep them on a leash?
Always keep them on a leash.
Yeah. So I'll give my final thoughts and pass it to you to close us out for today. And that it kind of, I feel like it ties together the demon thing with, you know, with control. Well, first of all, keeping them on a leash. Okay. It means, to me, it means like controlling them. So like the negative voices in your mind, I don't know if the goal is to get rid of them. I feel like maybe the goal is almost to just get compliance from them, gain obedience, just like, you know, just like a dog or like a 5-year-old child. Like, you don't want to like put tape over the child's mouth. You want to like, you want to like, the child is going to say these things like, I want this toy, you know, I want to leave. How long until we get there?
Right.
Like, so you gotta listen to your child, but then you have to be able to manage your child and say, you know, well, we'll get there in 20 minutes. Until we get there, then just sit down and, you know, play your Nintendo, Game Boy, or whatever kids do nowadays, right? So it's more about compliance and obedience, I think, with the negative voices, right? And then to your other point about going to the beach, even on days when you don't feel like it, it's really, to me, like, sounds like self-control, like discipline, delay of gratification. But it's, what strikes me so much is that it's cause and effect, because you ask yourself, you're like, all right, am I going to feel good if I go to the beach? Yes. So you go to the beach. And so you're in alignment with reality, because I associate reality and cause and effect go like together. They're in the same category, right? But it's like, for some reason, I kept thinking of like, you know, letting these pendulums latch onto you and take your energy is like, it's like overeating. It's like, it's so tempting, right? Like you have this big fat cheeseburger in front of you, and you want to eat the whole thing because it tastes so good, right? But you go back to cause and effect. Like, if you eat the whole thing, like, you're going to feel bloated, you're going to, or it's going to ruin your diet or whatever, right? So you have to constantly come back to to disciplined cause and effect thinking. And that's what brings us closer to reality, I think. I'll pass it to you.
I personally am obsessed with the breakthrough that we just really, really came through, because I think it's 100% true. What, because your kid won't stop crying because your kid, wants a fucking cheeseburger because your kid wants to be there? What are you gonna duct tape her mouth, put a sleep mask on her and throw her in the trunk? You're gonna feel horrible. That's not the right thing to do. When your negative voices start, talking up, quiet them down. Be like, all right, well, hush, we're gonna be there soon, or hush, it's gonna happen soon. Relax, But I love that. But the one point that I wanted to end with, that I forgot in my last thing, was never tame your demons and always keeping them on a leash. It's like drinking, drinking to maybe a demon. There have been times when I've been throwing up so bad I had to go to the hospital because of drinking. Did I quit drinking? No. Fuck no. I love drinking. I love drinking. When I was younger, I couldn't handle it. I wound up in the hospital maybe numerous times because of drinking so much. And I feel like some people, when they reach that point, they see alcohol as the demon. I don't see alcohol as the demon. I see myself as the demon. And I see that my inability to control my alcohol is the demon. But I knew that I wanted to drink so fucking bad. I was like, there's no way that I'm going to give up alcohol. So I learned how to do it, so I put my demon on a leash. And I feel like those are the things that we need in life. And I feel like, I'm trying to think of like other things that I guess can be demonized. Okay, so like overeating, right? So like, I'm a really healthy girl, but sometimes when I go out with my friends and we're all eating dinner, I'll eat some of this appetizer, I'll eat some of this appetizer, I'll eat some of this one, I'll have 6 drinks, and then I'll get hungrier and I'll order another sushi roll, and nights like that, they're fucking great. I love it. You know why? Because I feel like absolute fucking shit in the morning. And I'm like, whoop, all right, well, I've let this demon come to play. Now it's time to put it back on a leash, and I'm getting back to what makes me feel really good, right? So it's like putting those demons on a leash and still letting them come out to play. It's great. It's great. And I think that that has a lot to do with your physical and your mental, because all of your demons are physical. And they become internal because you store them away. But all of your demons are physical. There's a demon that wants to, I guess they're not all physical, because there's definitely a demon that just wants to think about negative shit all day. And you just need to tell that demon, hey, bro, that's enough. I'm really sick of this. You got to cut it out. Thank you. And then you automatically turn your thoughts to something else. But yeah, those are my ending thoughts. And I think that this episode was packed with, I swear to God, $10 million in gold. So fuck yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Second that. So if, and again, this was a topic from one of our viewers. So if any of you guys watching or listening have a topic you'd like us to talk about, go ahead and write that in the comments or send us a message on Facebook or Instagram. My Instagram is Existence First, and Kyra, yours is?
My Instagram is @SoulDesignedFuture. And I also wanted to say thank you to Robert's old friend for sending in a message about this topic, because clearly me and Robert ate it up.
Totally. Now let's sit and digest. All right. We'll see you all in next week's episode.